Hi, it's Dorothy Guining with Scrapbooking Quebec. Today I'm joining the Punched Out Thursday to Die For collaboration. We share ideas every Thursday on what to do with your punches and your dies. I'm going to put links to Ronnie's, Kathy's, and Krista's channels below, so be sure to check them out. I'm going to be creating the layout you see on the screen, and I will be making all of those embellishments with tools from my stash. The inspiration for my page design comes from a class I'm taking right now called 6x6 Paper Pad Sketches by Allison Davis at Scrapbook Generation. And I will link up the Scrapbook Generation below as well. I'm going to be doing page 1 of a double page sketch. Now, page 1 stands alone, no problem as a single page layout. But if you want to see how I put together page 2, I will walk you through that process at the very end of this video. So here's what I'm going to be using. I have paper from the Simple Stories Cozy Days collection, and here are the tools. Now, I'll talk more about them throughout the process, and I will list them in the description box below, but I'm also going to suggest substitutions for some of them throughout the process in case you don't have everything that I have. So I did do a bit of preparation in advance. I prepared this frame style foundation with 3 sheets of paper, and I gutted 2 of them. And there is a tutorial on my channel where I do that, so I'll link that up below as well. I'm showing you the paper I have on my desk. I also matted my 3 photos in advance. I have a basket full of tools, and that tray I keep smaller stuff in. So the first thing I'm going to do is prepare my foundation page. And I'm going to add some ink to the top left and bottom right corner. So I'm using a blending brush, and that's like, I'm not quite sure of that ink color. It's a newer one by Stampin' Up. I'll put it in the description box below as well. But basically, I'm putting ink in the top left and bottom right, which is where I plan to do some embellishing later on. I'm also adding some ink splatter. So I put 3 drips from a Stampin' Up! Re-inker bottle, that's early espresso, a really dark brown ink, with 2 sprays of water. And I put a paintbrush in there, and I just flick the paintbrush with my other finger about 8 inches above the paper to create those splatters. Now what you see me doing is creating a pocket. So what I'm doing is making a pocket to place behind the focal point photo, and that is where I will be placing my journaling, which is going to be a recipe for osso buco. So I'm putting the adhesive on 3 of the 4 sides, and I'm leaving the top part open because that's where I plan to slip my recipe card in. So as you can see, I did my journaling in advance. The recipe is there, and now what I'm doing is creating a tab for the top of this recipe card. So I punched out 2 labels. That's an old punch from Stampin' Up! And I'm adhering them to the front and the back of this recipe card. So basically the label goes halfway down the card, and the other half goes over the top of the card. And I'm using an adhesive, a really strong adhesive. I'll put that in the description box below. It's this double-sided tape. It's the same adhesive I used to adhere the pocket behind the focal point photo. Basically, anytime I create anything interactive on a scrapbook page, I use this tape. It's really, really solid. So I'm making sure that my card fits in this pocket. Obviously, for a label punch, you can substitute that with absolutely anything. It could be a circle punch. It could be anything. Just something that you can get a hold of so that you can pull to remove the hidden journaling. I'm going to continue with my embellishing. So what I'm doing is cutting down 3 strips of paper here, and one of them is at 2 inches. The other 2 are at 1.5 inches each, and I'm going to turn them into banners. So I'm going to use a triple banner punch from Stampin' Up! This one here, you can cut out banners in 3 different widths at 2 inches, 1.5 inches, and 1 inch. So what I'm going to do is take these 3 strips of paper, cut them in 2, and I'll have 6 banners. So I'm going to place 3 at the top left and 3 more or less at the bottom right. If you do not have a triple banner punch, you can make banners no problem simply by snipping fishtails in the bottom of a strip of paper. That's it. Super, super easy. So I'm placing all of this to the page, but at this point I realize I really do not like those brown splatters. So I decided not to continue and I made myself another foundation page. I did the very same thing as I did at the beginning, except this time I left out the splatters and I'm much, much happier. So I'm placing my banners, like I said, in the top left and the bottom right, and I'm going to speed up the film a bit here. So I'm basically going to adhere everything down exactly how I am placing it now. And I end up cutting out a bit of this process because it's kind of repetitive. But the only one thing that is noteworthy is when I adhere the focal point photo, the middle photo, the one with the pocket, to the page, I use that very same adhesive, that double-sided super strong tape. Like I said, anytime I create anything interactive on a scrapbook page, that is the tape I use. So once I'm finished here, I do continue with my embellishment process. So I'm showing you those dies there. Those are from Pink Fresh Studio. They are called the Adore Alpha die set. And I cut them out in two different colors. They're blue as well as that vanilla color. And I layered them up for a shadow effect. Obviously, those dies there, you can replace it with letter stickers or any other letter dies that you want. So now what you see me creating are two scalloped stitched circles. Those ones there came from the In Love Art Shop, super, super inexpensive dies, and they are basically going to serve as the foundation pieces to two main embellishment clusters. Now I have these dies. They are called the Apron Builder Framelits dies from Stampin' Up, and I really love them. They are old and they are retired, unfortunately. Basically, I have all of these apron parts as well as oven mitts and other kitchen-y type things. So I'm cutting out a whole bunch of different pieces in different colors. I have pockets, I have oven mitts, little hearts, apron strings. You're going to see all of that right there on the screen. And what I'm going to do is build myself an apron, and then I end up adding little hearts to those oven mitts. Now, if you don't have an apron builder punch, I would recommend in that case, or what I would do anyway, is add flowers or hearts, something kind of generic. Flowers I find work well for kitchen-y type pages. And for those circles, well, that can be replaced with a doily or any circle puncher die. No problem. What I'm going to do in a minute, though, is create some punch art. And I'm going to create a big cooking pot. Now, this can be created almost with simply a straight trimmer and a pair of scissors. So what I'm doing now is cutting myself a rectangle. I will put measurements for everything I'm doing here on the screen, and that is going to be the base of my cooking pot. I also have an oval punch, and I'm going to cut a half oval, and that is going to be the top of my pot. Really, what's important there is that the width of the pot top matches the width of the pot bottom. I cut out a little narrow strip of dark brown paper that lines the top of my pot. I cut out a 3/8 of an inch circle, small circle for the top of the pot, and that the pot handles there, that's simply a 1/2 inch circle cut in half. So now what I'm doing is making a wooden spoon. I used a word window punch, an old punch from Stampin' Up, and I simply trimmed it on an angle. I think it looks like a baseball bat there, and you're going to see me come in a minute and do another one. I'm putting all of these pieces together. What I didn't mention is the bottom of that pot. I simply used a corner rounder to round the bottom of the pot, and that's it. I'm adhering all of this together. I would like to point out that all of my embellishment pieces, this pot, the apron, the oven mitts, as well as that tab that says, that's on top of the recipe card, I ended up inking the edges of all of those pieces with that dark brown ink, and you will see that at the end of the video in the still shots. So now I'm adhering all of this to the page, the two embellishment clusters as well as my title. So I'm going to actually stop the film for a bit of this. I put some of it down on camera, but basically the bottom cluster has that large round circle, the apron, as well as that cooking pot. The cooking pot, you're going to notice in a minute, I end up popping it up on foam adhesive. I'm adhering the title. It kind of overlaps the photos a little bit. And then I end up putting those oven mitts in the top left corner. Those get moved around a bit, and you will see what I do with them in the still photos at the very end of this video. So that's pretty much it. Like I said, most of this stuff can be replaced. That cooking pot, honestly, you could make it with a pair of scissors, straight trimmer, corner rounder. That oval punch could be replaced with a circle punch, no problem. The only thing that's a little bit tricky to replace is that apron as well as oven mitts. Now you could draw them and cut them out by hand, but if you're not into that, like I said, hearts or flowers, something like that would work well. What you saw me do there is simply stamp out the word recipe from an old stamp set from Close to My Heart, and I'm punching out the word with that word window punch, and I'm going to put it in that tab just where the recipe is at the top of the page. And that's pretty much it for the layout. I am really happy with this layout, actually. I hope you enjoyed this video. Now, if you want to hang around, I will walk you through the process of page 2. Super easy page, actually. Basically, it's divided into 3 sections. The blue strip there has 4 photos, and the photos measure 2.5-inch square, and that blue strip is about 4 inches wide. The brown section is 5.5 inches wide, and the photos measure 5 inches by 3.5 inches. And that vanilla strip at the end, which is a nice resting spot for the eye, actually, that one is 1 3/4 inches wide. Now, in between some of the strips, I added narrow brown floral paper strips. And on that strip of small photos, I simply added numbers. Those numbers correspond with the steps in the recipe. And finally, I finished off the page with a simple embellishment cluster in the top right. That's it. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed to Scrapbooking Quebec, I'd be absolutely thrilled if you did. And if you are a subscriber, thank you very much. And finally, do not forget to check out the other ladies. Their links are in the description box below. Thank you so much for watching, and have a fantastic day. Bye-bye.